Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, and I know that I've put a little video at the beginning of your the new unit content. But as I started grading the stuff that's due in Unit 2, I always think of things that I want to tell you and follow up with you on as I'm reading your assignments. So just wanted to communicate with you as I started grading assignments and just give some follow up and feedback. So if you look in your grade center, you can see that I have graded reaction assignment number 2. That's the one that asked you to create 2 qualitative and 2 quantitative questions designed to explore the potential connection between playing intramural sports and sense of community. So while it's fresh in my mind, I just wanted to kind of express a few items of feedback that hopefully are helpful, but just communicate with you the best I can to follow up on that assignment. So I was looking for a couple of things. First of all was the simple difference between qualitative questions and quantitative questions. And I know that I've got a little tutorial in the material about that, but you can't practice that too much. So, quantitative questions are pretty easy to spot. They have pre-established answer choices. So an example might be, which intramural sports did you play this year? And this question can only be answered from the list of intramural sports that we offered, such as flag football, volleyball, horseshoes, or 3-on-3 basketball. They can't make up sports, so there's a pre-established list of answer choices that they're going to give. And I might want to know this because sense of community might be greater with the number of sports that people played, or it may be greater with team sports versus individual sports, like like tennis singles or something like that. So maybe that question helps tell me which sports help sense of community more, or maybe it tells me that people that play more sports have greater sense of community. That would be helpful information too, because then we would encourage people to play as many sports as they reasonably could to get the most benefit. So that's how I might use that information. Other examples of quantitative questions might be ones that have multiple choice answers. So whenever you take a multiple choice test, that's a quantitative question. Whenever you have an essay question, that's a qualitative question. So if you can just think of that example in your head, that might help you to figure out whether it's qualitative or quantitative. Another question that I saw on some of your papers that I liked, and I would comment on this, I like quantitative questions that use scales. So a common one that we use is called a Likert scale, and that's where you see something like maybe the question asks you to indicate your level of agreement with the statement, and you might answer to a great degree, somewhat, to a small degree, or not at all. So you've kind of got some answer choices along a scale, and so that's another quantitative type of question. So for example, in your assignment, an example of that, of a Likert type scale answer might be, to what degree do you perceive your participation in intramural sports as contributing to your academic success? And your answer choices might be to a great degree, somewhat, neutral, to a small degree, or not at all. So, it kind of lets you quantify the level of how you feel about that statement. And that's a better option than either yes or no. So, I did see a few questions where you would ask, does intramural sports contribute to your sense of community? Yes or no? That's not a good question because that's very limited information. We kind of want to know kind of on that continuum, to what extent, a little bit, a lot, somewhat. So you can see how a scale gives you better information than just yes or no. So that was an example of a quantitative question, as well as a detailed explanation of why I think that information might help my investigation. So that's kind of what I was looking for in your papers. A quick example of a qualitative question might be something like, in what ways do you interact with people that you play intramurals with off the field? So, in that one, I'm just wanting to know when, where, how do you see your intramural teammates in other situations on campus besides intramurals? Do you see them in class? Do you see them in the union? Do you live with them? Do you say hi when you're walking down the sidewalk? So, I want to know what kind of involvement occurs outside of the specific context of intramurals. So, there are no answer choices. Every answer will be unique. I'm asking the participant to describe something in their own words. That's one of the biggest differences between quantitative and qualitative. Qualitative, we don't ask them yes or no or pick one. We just say, how? How does it make you feel? Or why do you feel this way? So that's basically qualitative in their own words. So, if I took points on this assignment, it might have been because you mixed up qualitative and quantitative. And I didn't take too many points with that. This is a learning exercise. Or maybe because your questions were a little bit general and maybe you rephrased the same question a couple of times. So sometimes I saw the same question being asked over and over again. Just in one time it was a qualitative format, another time it was a quantitative format. So, I'm looking for you to get a little bit creative and a little bit deep with maybe some various types of information or various different types of answers you can get in looking at this specific topic, not merely asking something like, do you think intramural sports contributes to your sense of community? That's not very specific. All it's doing is kind of restating the research question. So, we want a lot of questions that give us different perspectives on this topic. So we're going to keep practicing things like this throughout the semester, and we're definitely going to work on putting together what we refer to as an instrument to collect data. So an instrument is merely a data collection tool. So in this case, it might be a survey. So I know that you've taken plenty of surveys before, and you can probably see what I'm talking about. The next survey that you get, you're going to think, is this question qualitative or quantitative? And do the answer choices express the way I really feel? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. So, think about that when the next time you see an instrument, which might be a survey. So again, we're just kind of learning the tools of research and how to compose questions to put in an instrument or a survey. That's just kind of another step in the process. So like I said, we'll keep practicing, and I appreciate your work. So thank you, and I'll be grading the other things, in the next several days. But I appreciate your work. I wanted to give you some feedback right away and just kind of debrief that reaction assignment number 2. So thanks for your work, and I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon.